Good morning and welcome everybody to the Never Stop Healing podcast. Good to have you here today. We've got some very exciting things we're going to be covering. We're going to be sharing with you hopefully information that will change the way you think about health and change the way you think about your life. And so with me today, I've got Andie Bryce, and Andie is one of our health advisors, health coaches, just an amazing human. So Andie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy Thursday morning.
Yes, it's a great Thursday morning. And for all of you who were on the Health Accelerator Challenge last night, really appreciate you being there. We went through the Restore framework. And as we went through the Restore framework, I teed it up with this policy that we have. And one of our core missions is as a company is we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can so that the last decade of your life is the best decade of your life. And so it's a big promise, but it's something that I've thought about for a long time. And the restorative phase in our Accelerate Wellness programs, there's 6 core functions behind it that we covered last night. And so the challenge was for you to find which of those 6 core focuses are going to serve you the most, and which of those do you want to have as kind of like a big part of your overall life. And so some of those are choosing to some of the 6 in the restore phase. Let me open this up and I'll go through it. But one of them is number 1 was Fitness 50 at age 100. So get your benchmarks. If you don't know where you're at in your Fitness 50 benchmarks, well, get on that. We've got some awesome things that we've shared in the past. We've got a video on our YouTube page where Jenny and I went through those exercises. So maybe that becomes your core focus this week, is actually grading yourself. Are you fit or in the fitter category or the fittest? And the next one is eating fat without getting fat. So making sure you're getting healthy fats in every single day, 80 to 100 grams of those. And contrary to popular beliefs, those fats will not make you fat. They won't raise your cholesterol, and they'll give you a happy brain and a happy heart. The third one is resistant starches. Aim for 100 to 250 grams per day. And especially if you've got thyroid imbalances, do not skip out on these. And so I like using rice that, we cook it, we cool it down. And then if you can cool down your resistant starches, they're much better for your bacteria in your gut. They create these short chain fatty acids that your bacteria just love. So maybe that's your focus. Maybe it's number 4, unique physical abilities. So finding something you really love to do and do more of it. And Jenny was on the hack last night, and I was talking to her about running. And so she gets in like this crazy flow state. Have you ever heard her talk about running?
I have, and she's awesome. I mean, she did a huge, how long was the road race she did? And Evan was only 6 months old or something. And I was like, what? Right. When my babies were 6 months old,
Yeah,
maybe not that active.
I wouldn't be either. But yeah, Jenny's she's a collegiate runner, and so her unique physical ability, like she just gets in her flow state when she's trail running. I mentioned mountain biking. That's my big unique physical ability, where I just love climbing. I love coming downhill. I mean, it's fun. And yours is dancing. I know we've talked about this before. You love dancing. Especially,
I love dancing. Love dancing. It's so much fun. In Australia, I learned partner dance called Sarok for like 15 years. And, you get all the good hormones. You get the dopamine and the endorphins, and it's really social too. And I'm such a people person. That's why dancing is such a good workout. And it's, you get to have a good laugh.
Yeah. That's awesome. The next one is timed eating. So number 5. So look at, give yourself 12 hours where you let your digestive system take a break. And that's amazing. And then the 6th one is gratitude muscle. And like, I think of all the muscles you can build in your body, the gratitude muscle is the most important muscle, because all progress starts with gratitude. And so, yeah, so the hack we went through last night was simply, pretty much getting you in the mindset where you are, kind of working on one of these 6 things and putting it into your life as a core habit. And so the goal is to pick which one you want. So, and plug in the chat box if you guys have, some particular ones that you want to work on. And then today, what I'd like to chat about, Andie, first of all, do you have any patient wins that you want to share? Any cool feedback from members in our group that you've heard this week?
As you know, we had a couple in the clinic this week who are doing so well on their program. They live interstate and they're doing so incredibly well. And last night, and I've already coached one patient this morning, another couple coached him yesterday evening and coached her this morning. And something that was really valuable this week, and we both know this, Regan, but the value of doing it with your significant other, doing a program and having that as support / accountability within the house, and you don't feel like you're doing it alone, and you're not cooking 2 meals because you're focused on your health and someone else isn't. But the wins that really came through this week were from those 2 couples of having that support network within the house. It's, fundamental to their success and their momentum.
Oh man. Well, and when we saw them, so here's some of the results they had. It was 60 days since I saw them before. They both already hit their ideal weight. I mean, they both lost maybe I think 10 or 11 pounds on one, and then the other it was like almost 15, 20 pounds, and they just looked 10 years younger already. And they're feeling better, more energized. They just had a glow about them. And then it seems like all day long I saw great things. We had one of our members who was in a diabetic state, and we reran her labs and we had her blood review, and we were actually able to see that she's now no longer diabetic. And that was just amazing, because she's in her late 70s. So most people in their late 70s are not reversing diseases like diabetes. And so it was just, it's been a great week, and I really appreciate everybody.
Also, from it, to highlight someone with a different condition also, was the lady that was in yesterday and had Acu with you, but I met and health coached on Tuesday afternoon. And, she was having great success with the arthritis in her hands. Like, she was like,
oh, yes.
To highlight that as a condition to be pain-free from, that's so chronic. And, it was really, she was in a really bad spot at the beginning of her program. And we really, as a team, really worked at finding the right solutions for her as an individual. And she was so happy.
Yeah. Wasn't that cool? I mean, we just need to write these all down, and then every Thursday we just share success stories. It would be the entire length of the podcast. I mean, there's just so many good things. But today, one of the things I want to share is kind of how to love the way you feel about your health. And so we talked about this, this idea of having no surprises. And the next 12-week challenge is going to be all around this, how to remove surprise diseases or surprise diagnoses. Because, I think in life, one of the things we forget is that we are not invincible. And when you're healthy, it's so easy to forget that you actually have, it's a gift, and it could be taken away in one fell swoop. And so we want to remove the element of surprise disease from our patients. And this goes along the lines that Diane shared with us, and good to have you on, Diane, but which is no death by neglect. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then kind of feed into this concept that health improves everything. So Andie, when you think of death by neglect, what comes to mind when I say that?
Well, two things at equal pegging is diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and
Yeah.
cardiothoracic disease.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because everybody thinks they're healthy the day before a heart attack, right? Or the day before. I
Yeah.
mean, that's before you get a cancer diagnosis, you think you're cancer free. And before you recognize you have diabetes, and 50% of people who have diabetes know it. The other 50% still don't. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That, yeah. So imagine that you could remove these big threats from your life. What would that look like? And I say, well, there's a core process that we go through with every single member in our program where we want to look at three things. We want to analyze where the threats are, and this is where we use functional medicine testing. And I'll dive into some of the core tests that you're going to want to do to make sure that you're removing those threats. The second thing we do is we find pathways that need to be optimized, because what most doctors do is they wait until you have a clear diagnosis, and then there's a treatment that comes in the form of usually a pharmaceutical or a surgery. But we want to optimize the pathways so that we can actually help you avoid being on a medication the rest of your life if possible, or avoid a surgery if possible. And then the final step is to transform. So we want to make sure that all those pathways that get optimized are now functioning in a healthy, higher level, so that you have this thing called health momentum. And then the health momentum is what helps you create better muscle mass, better fitness. You look your best, feel your best, and perform your best. So that's what we're going to cover today. And I'll share with you, let me share with you my screen here. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see this. Is that showing up, Andie? 94% of
Yes.
okay, perfect. So one of the things that I was taught at a really early age, over almost 25 years ago now, was that one of the reasons why we have so many failures in the healthcare system is because there's not a system in place. And if there is a system, it's the wrong system. And so I want to use this analogy of if you saw a fish and you walk into a room and there's three fish bowls on a table, and you look at one of the fish bowls and there's the water looks kind of gray and cloudy. There's particles floating in it. It doesn't smell right. The fish looks kind of anemic and sick, not swimming around very much, just barely living. And then you glance on the table and you notice there's medications all around it. So this is analogous of what we do in our society. Is we're like, well, the humans, there's a lot of sick people in our society. And actually the Lancet Journal, they did a study about 3 years ago, and they found that in America, 3 out of 10 people have at least one chronic disease. And I'm like, man, that's too many. And then actually they also said, and on top of that, we have about 68% of people are obese or overweight. And so I said, man, there's some problems here, but the way we've treated it is medicate the fish. There's a second fish bowl, and this one's, well, how do you treat the fish? Well, maybe we should clean the fish tank, because the first fish is like, well, let's just medicate it more. Let's just keep piling on more medications. And I read this book that I thought was so powerful, and it's called Are My Prescription Drugs Killing Me? Have you ever read that book or heard of it, Andie?
I've heard you mention it, but no, I haven't read it yet.
I've given it out so many times. I probably bought 10 copies, and then I have patients in the clinic. I'm like, you need to read this. You need to read this. And so I just give my copy away, but we need to order that again. And I think you'd love it, because what this pharmacist did is, he ended up going to a nursing home. He was known for taking people off medications. And so when we have this concept of no death by surprises, a lot of times as we age, we end up getting on this plethora of medications. And polypharmacy syndrome means that if you're on 5 or more medications, you have 100% chance of an adverse reaction from those medications. So then it's like, well, we don't know if this fish is sick. The water's messy, the fish doesn't feel good, so let's just throw another medication in there. But the problem with that idea is you end up treating a symptom that the person's having from a medication and not knowing if it's a symptom from the medication or the symptom from the person. And so you just pile on more medications. Oh, you've been taking omeprazole for 10 years and now you've got osteoporosis. Well, let's throw in some osteoporosis drugs. Or now you've got hypertension because your aldosterone is sky high. And let's throw on some beta blockers. And oh, while we're at it, we'll put in a water pill. So there's just some interesting things that have happened over the course of the years where I think that the intentions have hopefully been good, but I think we need to change the system. And that's what we've done at East West essentially is we've created this brand new system where it's like, hey, you can use peptides, you can use Cellcore, you can use herbal medicine, and you can get a phenomenal outcome no matter how muddy your water is or no matter how sick you may feel. And our theory is, well, why don't we just clean the fish tank? And why don't we just say, hey, let's get a clean start? And so how many of you have, just to use the analogy, but how many of you clean your fish tank and you feel like, oh man, I feel so much better because of the work that I've been doing on my health.
Yeah.
And Andie, I mean, you see, like, what are some of the ways that you coach people to clean their fish tank?
Primarily diet, lifestyle, a lot of, and it's really interesting with the things that come up with lifestyle as well, because that's where those factors that people don't necessarily recognize, the less obvious sources of stress in their life. So yeah, to detox your lifestyle in that way, to help you with your blood pressure, to, help you with your brain fog, and also eating clean, of course, they're hand in hand.
Right. Yeah, those are huge. And so this is where we have, every phase of care. When you work with us, we take you through this 3-phase, and I'll jump into it in just a minute here. But really our whole goal is to let's get you as healthy as you possibly can and clean out the environment. But there's this one caveat, the third bowl, remember, is sitting there in this room that we walked into. What if the fish isn't feeling great? So what if you've done all the cleansing work? And we worked with a lot of patients who have, you've tried to eat your way out of a health condition. You've tried to exercise your way out of it. You've done mindset training. You've done meditations. You've gone to retreats. And even the couple that was here on Monday and Tuesday, and I'm excited to get their videos. They're going to create videos for us, so you guys will hear it straight from them. They've been doing all these things and they just needed that extra edge. And so this is where we come in. And this is where I think we've had the most success this year with over 130 people, is we've been able to find those interferences and those biotoxins and remove the things that aren't quite getting you to the next level. And that's where I think some of the innovations that we bring in, like peptides, have been huge. For this couple, one of the peptides that was very helpful was epitalin, because they're high powered, they're very entrepreneurial, working very hard. They've got 3 kids. They're doing a lot of good in the world, but we had to reset that stress response, reset the HPA axis. And then epitalin is also one of those peptides that helps us, basically it removes aging from our cells. And so it creates a better cell-to-cell communication. And in some of the studies, they found that people who use epitalin have a 7-year increase in their, or decrease in their biological age. So you actually add 7 years onto your life. And so that was a big one. The other one was semaglutide. And Andie, you've had some experience with semaglutide. What was your experience on that peptide?
Look, for me, it was awesome. And I've shared the story a few times, but for those people who may have missed it, I went over to Australia early this year for 2.5 months, and I just slipped into holiday mode. And I know better. When you're on holiday and you just think, oh, I'll have the treat. But when that holiday is for 2.5 months and you come back and you get on the scales and you're like, what the hell happened to me? And that was when I came back to work here, and I was on semaglutide for basically 5 weeks, and I dropped 10 pounds like that. But of course, and you have to make those underlying changes to sustain that.
Yeah.
So I lost it very quickly. It was very effective, but I went back to eating clean. there can be a couple of little side effects, and I think they're worth mentioning. I didn't really have them too badly. You can get a little bit of nausea. I only had that because it's a weekly dose. So I only had it for a day or so after those first 2 doses, and then it went away. It was very mild. I equated it to very mild morning sickness, but it wasn't really bad at all. But we can adjust the dose if that's an issue for someone, and you can get a little bit constipated. So you just have to keep an eye on, on what's normal for you for your bowels moving, and just stay really hydrated, of course. But it was really effective, and it took out that noise in my head, because it delays the stomach emptying. It took away the noise in my head about food, which can be quite rowdy in there. So, so I found it was and it really helped me reset my relationship with my clean eating.
Man, well, and I look at that. I just look at peptides as those little shortcuts that can get us to the result that we want about 3 or 4 times faster than if we didn't have it. Because getting over that, the committee, like, are we going to eat the sugar? Are we not going to eat the sugar? You can only, like, pretty soon it's like an arm wrestle with that voice in the head, and pretty soon, boom, you have to tap out. And so peptides are what gives us a unique advantage. And so, I think everyone's heard about my growing up, but I grew up on a cattle farm in Idaho, and it was a really fun childhood. And you can see I had a little mullet here. But the thing that I learned about growing up on a farm is this thing of, if you're going to do a job, do the job right. And I've been talking to patients about this lately, because I said, what if you could just lose weight once and never need to lose it again? And that's the goal. That's really why we have health advisors like Andie, like Jenny. This is why we run functional medicine labs. We can get to the root cause, so that when we fix something, we fix it once, and then your health just keeps getting better and better and better. And yes, of course, we still need to keep removing interferences, building up deficiencies, stabilizing all of the exercise you're doing, keep building muscle mass. These are all things that need to happen on a continual basis. But really what our goal is in the Accelerate Wellness program is, let's just fix the thing once and do it right the first time, so that you can move on and start optimizing your health. Because we've had a lot of members of our Accelerate Wellness program who have now converted into our Optimize phase. And it's so fun when we can look at the new labs and we can say, okay, you're ready for the Optimize phase. And this is where you get your compression boots, the Normatec. And I talked about those, I think, last week or the week before. You get your red light therapy, your AccuPen. I mean, there's just a lot of great things that we're doing in this optimized phase. But it all goes back to this concept of, let's get the job done right the first time and make it as easy as possible, but as effective as possible. And that's where some of these peptides have just been amazing. So some of the things that we've seen from our core processes, we've done interviews, we see a 200% increase in energy, an 80% sleep improvement, and a 3 times increase in future health confidence. So what I've learned is, this is crazy, because Sarah even came up to me yesterday, Andie, and she said, these Accelerate Wellness programs, I was, a little reluctant in the beginning, because we have, we're stacking all these new peptides, and I know you've done the research, but I hadn't seen the outcome on the other side. And I, because I was primarily working with patients for the last, 6 years on this. And then we made it just part of our core process. And Heather just had this massive appreciation, because she now sees how much faster people get the results and how much better it is from what we used to do. She said it's 10 times better in the results that she's seeing as a functional medicine practitioner. So that's pretty cool. Right?
Even from my perspective of having formally managed one of your practices and then becoming the health coach, I see the results are so consistent.
Yes, because Andie ran the Park City office for quite a while when we were doing the old method, and now she sees our new method, and it's everybody is like, we have, it's just like clockwork. Everyone's getting better and better and better and better, and it's just it's a dream come true. And we couldn't do it without all of you who are on the show today. And so I want to let you guys know that the work that you've done, and as you put in these, we've been researching this, and this is 20 years of work. That's all, you guys have done the work to actually make it happen. So I really appreciate the feedback, appreciate all of those who've been with us for so long. But the beautiful thing is, so many people tell me every single day is, I had no idea how much energy I was leaving on the table. I have very high-powered entrepreneurs who are just out there changing the world. And they have these massive amounts of people that they're impacting every day. And they say, I feel like I have a renewed lease on life. I can get in there. I can lead my teams. I feel better as a father. I feel better as a spouse. And they said, I've just got this new level of enthusiasm about life. So if you're somebody who feels like, man, maybe I am leaving some energy on the table, maybe I could perform a little better, I think there's some things we can do, because what we've discovered is, like I mentioned earlier, there's 3 keys to success in this whole process. Number 1 is analyze. So Andie, what are some of the ways that you analyze? Because I analyze it through labs, and I'll talk about some of those labs, but what does your analyzation process look like?
I use a tool that we call the Wheel of Life, and
Yeah.
it's all the segments of your life. It's what's off the plate. Like, where do you get your joy? Is your career fulfilling you? Your activity, home cooked meals, it goes into 12 different segments, and you kind of get people to grade themselves within these segments of their fulfillment. So that
Yeah.
is a really great tool to use with people, and and then you can revisit it later to say, okay, fill this out again, and see how fulfilled you are in these segments. So that's a really great one that I like using.
Yeah, that's super foundational. The other one that we're starting to bring in is that Fitness 50. So we can, and I mentioned
Right.
this earlier, but see where you are in your benchmarks. Are you fit, fitter, or fittest? Because if we're going to make the last decade of your life the best decade of your life, well, you're going to have some very ambitious fitness goals, and you actually can't stop. You have to exercise every single day. Like there's no vacation. Death is requires no assistance. Once you start slacking, I mean, you felt it even when you went to Australia, right, Andie?
Yeah, and
Death.
I just felt sorry, but I felt shitty. I really did. And I could feel it happening. But, and we kind of touched on this in our morning huddle. I was in the
Yeah.
rabbit hole. I'd gone down the rabbit hole, and I needed that assistance to get out of it.
Yeah.
And, and it works. And, like you said, exercise every day. Health is a commitment every day. Our well-being, our physical and mental well-being is a commitment every day that we have to make to ourselves. And you mentioned patients going on to other programs. It's so important to maintain that commitment to yourself, and also to be with us for that journey, to have that constant, hey, you haven't had your bloods done since here. And it's that early awareness of anything that may be changing is fundamental to having that longevity that we talk about. I coached someone this week who I always ask them it was his orientation, sorry. I always ask them their goals for their program. And if I could wave a magic wand, who are you in 7 months or 12 months, depending on the program? He said, oh, I'm going to live to be 120. And I'm like, yes, this
Nice.
is so, make that commitment, stay connected, make sure you're getting, your labs run and everything, so that you can achieve these goals that we're setting. It doesn't happen by default. It happens through mindfulness.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, because it creates an intention, right? And the bigger your goal is for your health, your intention will start matching it. And then, then that becomes a purpose every single day. It's like, okay, well, I wake up and I say, how can I have a health transformative experience with myself and with others today? And so I'm working on strength training right now. So I did my workout. I'm like, I'm going to actually just level up. And so I put a weighted vest on for my pull-ups. And I was like, I'm going to go a little heavier on my press. And so it feels really good. But every day, just keep moving the knob just a little bit, because what happens when we analyze, we're going to analyze, why are you tired? Why are you inflamed? And why are you toxic? Where are those things at? Because those things can creep in so quickly. And that's where having a support person like Andie in your life, or a team like us here at East West, it just creates this opportunity for you to constantly be analyzing where the threats are. Those, death by neglect is when we don't look at things and we just kind of bury our head and we say, I think I'm fine. I feel good. But we can run your labs and we can find something that could absolutely disrupt your quality of life in an instant. And there's nothing better than finding those. Like when the patient I met with yesterday, within 6 months, reversing her diabetes, that changed her life. She looked like a new person, but her confidence level just skyrocketed.
Yeah,
I
and the
said, how much more
momentum
confident?
she has too, to that
Oh,
momentum, commitment equals momentum, and they
yes.
go together, and she's on the path.
She's on the path, and it felt so good because I
Yeah.
said, how much more confident are you in your future now? And she said, at least 10 times, and her husband was there, and he's like, yeah, he was excited too. So all these things, analyze, it leads to the next step, which is the optimize. And this is where, when we run your blood labs, you're going to see that there's a yellow color, and there's a red, and there's a pink. And the pink is where the crisis is, and those are the fires we have to put out really quick. The red is when there's a disease pattern building up that is creating more inflammation, more tiredness, and more toxicity. But then the yellow is really where we look into the future and we say, what are the threats that are coming 10 years from now? And how are all those imbalances going to create another disease? And if we remove those imbalances, then you'll start to see the pink and the red will start to shift, and your body starts to feel better. So what we do after we analyze is we say, how can we optimize a person's health in the way that best serves them? So you have the most energy, the highest levels of fitness, you don't have chronic disease building up, and you have your health independence. And so the optimized phase is probably one that gets skipped the most in Western medicine, because you go to your primary care doctor, and I'm not saying remove that from your healthcare. We want the primary care doctor involved. It's really powerful. But what are they looking for primarily? What would you say, Andie? I know you're your doctor's healthiest patient, which I'm so stoked for you. That's so cool.
Well, they're looking for disease. Once they're looking at the aspect that we're trying to get in underneath.
Yes. And that's why we love working with primary care, because all the time they're looking to diagnose a disease, and then the treatment once again is medication. But they love working with us because your primary care doctor will start to see, man, you're just doing better and better and better and better. Keep doing what you're doing, and that's what you want. So it's amazing. And then the third thing is the transformation. And this is one where our newest transformations are, people who actually have found that their health is not just maintained, but it's improving every day. You put in new habits, new thinking, because your false beliefs, like I don't know about you, Andie, but over the years, it seems like every single week I have to get rid of these beliefs that I didn't even recognize that I had, more so than gaining new ones. If you just get rid of the old ones, then it's a complete transformation. It's like, well, I thought when I was in my mid 40s, I wouldn't be as fit as I was in my mid 30s or my mid 20s. And that it was a myth, right? Or I didn't think that we could put together a system of healthcare and a model where we use peptides, we're using cell core, these charged particles, and we're using, world-class health advisors and functional medicine practitioners. And we're helping people. At like 99% of people who go through our program are getting phenomenal results. I never thought that was a belief I had that I had to let go of, but that's the transformative phase, is when you say, well, I'm actually going to have the last decade of my life will be the most meaningful and the most powerful decade of my life. And so that's the transformative phase. But how do you see transformation, and what's some of your thoughts on that phase?
Well, I just want to touch on what you said when you said, your belief systems that you carry around. I'm quite often saying to patients in health coaching sessions, how does that serve you?
Mm.
So just touching back on that, because, we do carry around a lot unknowingly that doesn't serve us and holds us back. And, part of
Um,
what Jenny and I do is constantly challenging people that, we have habits and dialogue, and this internal dialogue that doesn't serve us. And it's like, you don't have to have the story that your mother had. I don't have to have the story my dad had with heart disease. Write your own story, take charge of
uh,
your health,
yeah.
and let go of what doesn't serve you. Let go of that dialogue and those negative belief systems, because how's that working for you, Cupcake? It's not.
Cupcake. Is that the person in your head? Is that Cupcake?
Well, there's a few in there. I don't, it'd be scary to name them all, let me tell you.
No, I love that. I think it's so important to, call yourself out, Hey,
Yeah.
maybe there is something that you could do about this problem. Maybe your knees don't have to hurt all the time. Maybe you don't have to have these headaches. Maybe giving up sugar is actually something that is not that hard. And it doesn't need to be that difficult. Maybe you bringing food and showing up to parties with a full belly, which is what I've learned to do a long time ago. Maybe that will actually serve you a lot better than you just saying, well, it's the holidays, I'm just going to give in. So
Yeah.
you just have to call yourself out. You got to be brutally honest with the thoughts that are going on in your head and these belief systems. And that's where the real transformation comes. So it's a little esoteric.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, that's who you're accountable to, right? You're accountable to yourself.
That's it. Yes, 100% ownership over your health. It leads to 100% transformation, because suddenly you start questioning everything you do, everything
Yeah.
you put into your mouth. I mean, every thought that you have is like, oh, is that really facilitating a better relationship with myself
Yeah.
by not appreciating your body or the way you look or the way you feel or whatever. So yeah, I think it's an interesting place. But one of the biggest revelations that we had, and one of the biggest special announcements I'm going to make today, is we are, once again, we're looking for the fastest way to get you feeling as great as possible in the safest, most effective treatments that are available. And the biggest transformation that we found is we've got Dr. Bob Borelli and Dr. Stephanie Coleman. Dr. Bob has worked for East West for, maybe, let's see, 2017, we met snowboarding. He started working here 2018, kind of part-time, because he's a retired emergency room physician. He's in his 50s, and so he still wants to work. But what Dr. Bob and Dr. Stephanie have created is this really phenomenal medically overseen treatments, where you can literally get to your peak performance state. You can get to your mental peak state through the use of this process they call journeys. And so we're going to be having retreats where we'll have 10 or 12 people in these cohorts. And at these retreats, we'll have Dr. Bob and Dr. Stephanie put us in these states where we can literally change our mindset in less than an hour and have this transformative experience, and have this new integration, so we can always have this transformation in our health. So we'll be talking about belief systems. We'll be talking about our goals, what we want the last decade of life to do, and then we'll be looking at blood labs, gut health. We'll be covering everything in detail at these retreats. We'll have Chef Hillary there. We'll have Andy there doing coaching, mentoring. We'll have a Fitness 50 Bay. But this new phase is something I'm super excited about, because we've got really good at analyzing, we've got really good at optimizing, and so the transformation state is where we're going to the next level. So Andy, what are some of your thoughts on these retreats we're going to be hosting?
I can't wait for the retreats, because we had you and myself and Misha were talking about it yesterday, and it is so exciting with the clients that we have on board currently that are already wanting to attend, and the numbers are going to be limited, of course, but it's so exciting for the treatments we're going to be offering, for really having this sharing environment where people can talk about their experiences, what's worked for them, from a health coaching perspective. The treatments, I think that you've touched on one of them, but the treatments we're going to be offering over these 2 days is amazing as well. Amazing IV therapies and acupuncture, and
Yeah,
bring it
we're gonna
on.
have
I can't wait. I'm
yeah,
really excited for it.
it's going to be, so what we're doing is, we're hosting these retreats. There's going to be 4 different themes throughout the course of the year. So you can choose, hey, I want to do the Zen retreat, the mindset retreat, or I want to do more of the physical optimization retreat. And so there's going to be different themes, but it's going to be around building community. And so each one of you on this, you guys are friends, we've had, lifetime relationships is our goal with you. And so make sure if it's something where you would love to be in a community of like-minded people, you'd love to meet, because we're going to curate this. So this will be cohorts of people that we want to bring together. We can't, through HIPAA, it's not like we can start introducing you, say, hey, I think you guys would be great friends, but I've always wanted to do that. And you guys, several of you have heard me say, hey, go meet the lady in the waiting room. You'll love her. And then you guys become fast friends, and it's powerful. I just think relationships and friendships are like that's like the icing on the cake, in life is those great relationships. And so if we can facilitate that, but having a central purpose, which is transforming your health. Now that's the goal behind these retreats. So if you'd like to be on our list, we're doing the admissions process right now, where we're starting to sort through and say, okay, well, yes, we can fit you into group 1, group 2, group 3, but we will start launching these retreats next year in January. So this is in like less than 90 days. So get your name on there. And I've been hosting Go Wellness events for almost 10 years. I've hosted events either for Go Wellness, or I did a lot of work for other groups like Lotus. So I'm excited to bring this into East West. And so we've got the dream team here, and you will not want to miss these powerful retreats. So yes, Andie, anything else you'd like to add to that?
You mentioned making friends in the waiting room. I have a number of people that I have met through both clinics that are friends, and it's such the power of like-minded people for your health is fantastic. And these retreats are going to really ignite that at an exponential level for people.
Yeah, I think it's going to be powerful. So one of the tests that I said I'd look at is your blood work. So this blood work, as you come in, we're going to have everybody either bring their existing set of labs or most recent, as long as it's within 90 days. And I'm going to actually train on all of the functional blood chemistry markers, because when I meet with individuals, Andie, for me, I realize we've got this amount of time. We only have so much attention and so much time to cover everything. But I want you to have 100% ownership over your health. So when we talk about this thing, no surprises, it takes a community to shine a spotlight on areas of your life where you may not see. I find in groups now, recently I've been doing these group lab reviews where everyone will have their labs in front of them, and I just go through all the different markers and what they mean. And the conversations and the discussions that come out of that group are far more powerful than what I can have with you one-on-one, because I can only share with you so much, and then the questions that you ask are going to be different than what someone else may ask. So we're going to run labs that look just like these, your functional blood chemistry. We may also cover your metabolomics. So we'll look at oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunctions, omega imbalances, toxic exposure, methylation. And then even looking at like adrenal profile, your gut. So I want to make sure that there's some knowledge that's being passed on, but it's actually going to be it's an actionable thing. It's not like where we're just kind of training you on how to be your own doctor or anything like that. It's actually giving you this feedback so that you can start optimizing your health and transforming it so much faster. So I want to share, as we kind of conclude, one thing that I would recommend, one big takeaway, one big action item I'd have is get your labs ran if you haven't had these ran. No surprises starts by you getting the right data. that's going to be the most critical. And then, just call the office. We can get that ran for you right away. And I want to share a quick video from one of our members, if that's all right. And so I'll hit it right here, and I think the video should work. There we go.
I'm Cam Sproul from Heber City, Utah. Wanted to share my experience with East West Health and Regan Archibald. I must say I was a skeptic at first. I didn't believe that vitamin supplements and kind of more of an Eastern medicine approach to health was a real thing. But once I met Regan and got to learn a little bit more about his approach and how his team works, I was compelled. One of the things that really kind of made sense to me is the very practical way that they approach the treatment plan. And it starts with, kind of an interview and a baseline understanding of your actual blood panel. So it's kind of irrefutable evidence, of where you're lacking in nutrition, and that really guides his team and how best to treat you as a patient. I was able to really get a ton of benefit out of the entire experience, not just the supplements and peptides. I also did acupuncture and some other therapies that his team delivered, and couldn't be more happy with the results. I feel better than I ever have. I'm turning 50 next year, and feel as good, if not better, than I did back in my 20s. I'm riding further and further on my mountain bike. I'm able to climb Mount Timpanogos every year. It's just been, a godsend, and totally worth my investment in my health. I've noticed other benefits as well, just in terms of how it's impacted me in my relationships, my ability to handle the stress and pressures at work. And, I attribute a lot of that to, the good guidance that I've received from Regan and his team. Thank you.
Awesome. And Andie, you worked directly with him. So
I did.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to hear. I didn't realize when Cam started that, he was maybe a little bit more skeptical. So that was a new piece of the puzzle for me. So even, it's great converting people who are like,
Right. Yeah. Because most people, and I think you should come into your first visit with us with some healthy skepticism. Say, yeah, show me some evidence, show me some proof. And I think it's the best because we have plenty of evidence, plenty of proof, and there's a great track record. So this has been fun today. I appreciate you being on, Andie. Any big takeaways that you got from today, or any words of wisdom?
I'm really, in talking about the retreat, I'm really excited for the retreat because, like I said, some of the people who are going, through the process of admissions at the moment are motivated, passionate, amazing people that I'm really looking forward to hanging out with for 2 days.
Yeah. It'll be fun. And Diane asked, are you ever going to do these groups, the group blood reviews through Zoom? And yes, we are setting up, what you'll see is in the next month or two, you'll start to see where I will be hosting classes on blood review, gut review, and I'll do it with a group. And I will do those on Zoom, but the retreats we cannot do on, because you have to be here. So Diane, get down from Montana, and we'd love to have you at one of these retreats. So for those of you who want more information, call the office at 801-582-2011. You can chat with Andie, you can chat with Misha about it. And we'd love to see if we can't get you in on our list on one of these upcoming events. So awesome. All right, Andie. Well, thanks so much. And everybody, we love you guys, and we will see you next week. Share this with your friends, family, or anybody who wants to avoid having surprises in their health pursuits. All right. Bye-bye.
So everyone will be sharing it with everyone.
Yes.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
team.